Neil, a couple of transfer rumours. We start with you. Martial, what do you make of that one?
Yeah, so it's an interesting one. They're saying he could be going to Inter when Inter are trying to get rid of all their lads in a fire sale, isn't it? Martial just interests me because he's one of these strikers when he burst onto the scene. You thought, like Mbappe nearly, this guy, the sky's the limit. He's young, he's hungry, scored some really, really spectacular goals. I know, Roy, you wrote a couple of good articles about him. When you think to yourself, he reminds me a little bit of Naby Keita at Liverpool, just when he teases you and you think to yourself, wow, there's a player there, and then you get slapped right in the face just as you're expecting at least. And Martial to me is a guy that has an absolute abundance of talent. He has it in the locker, but for whatever reason, we've just never ever seen him catch fire for a full season. Like he'd 4 goals last year. Was that due to injuries, not being in the side? Cavani being favoured, etc. I think he needs a move. I think he needs to go somewhere because let's be honest, you've been talking about him being that type of player for a number of years now. Someone was saying that United wanted to recoup their 50 million transfer that they got from him. I don't think they're going to get that for him. But depending on who comes in and again what way Solskjaer sees his attacking options, I'd say he'd be willing to let him go. It's just a question of whether he can get a good suitor that he feels would be, good enough. Like when you leave Man United, you're leaving a height. Where do you go from there? So maybe it more depends on Martial agreeing it rather than being forced out the door. But it'd be interesting to see if he ends up somewhere by the end of the transfer window.
Yeah, anyone who's looking to take Martial in, Dave, he's not really a centre forward, is he? He's a winger.
Yeah, like a bit similar to what Neil said. I gave him a good while to kind of write him off because I like when you like us dodgy amateur golfers, that one straight drive, I'll go out again. He always just manages, just as I'm about to finish with him, he just pulls something out of the bag. But yeah, I just think he's just one of them. He's just slight little fault in the making of as a top player because there's just that something faulty or a missing part somewhere that just doesn't fit because it works from time to time, but maybe it's dodgy batteries or something. But it's very frustrating because you can see the talent's there. Like we all remember the cracker he got against Liverpool, and when he first came in, we scratched our head a bit on what is Van Gaal doing. Never heard nothing about him. Showed loads of promise, very Henry-ish, which was a bit of a push at the time, looking back. But yeah, like for himself to have any chance to resurrect his career, yeah, he needs to go. But where's to fit? God only knows. There'll be a lot of pressure on Inter Milan on him at Inter Milan. Italians don't hang about. He won't get the same time. He needs to fit the bill and remotely show some signs of banging in the goals if he is to replace Lukaku if he goes. So it could be a bad move for him because within a couple of months they'll turn on him big time because I think Martinez might be on the move as well, Lautaro Martinez as well. So there'll be a hell of a lot of pressure. You're missing 2 good goal scorers for Inter. So the pressure's on him and he needs to be ready. Otherwise, he could be another one of those players that just disappears into the wilderness.
Yeah, I could see him go to Inter, but I couldn't see them paying money for him. That's another loan deal that you could probably see coming down the line, especially if Inter are the way they are. Neil, Bernardo to Arsenal.
Yeah, I think. I
haven't heard this one now, I have to say.
Is this Bernardo Silva? Man City's Bernardo. All right.
Yeah. So Pep has come out and said, listen, he's told me he wants to leave. So that's the first part of it. I think there's a scenario going on at City where Mahrez seems to be more favoured on the right side. And I think Mahrez had a very good season last year. So I think Pep is looking at this and saying, listen, obviously you're bringing in Grealish, maybe you're bringing in Kane to balance it a little. Now they've put a 60 million price tag on Bernardo Silva. Now, I don't know, in this day and age, is that just or not? But interesting when I did the search on it, Arsenal come up as a suitor for him. But also Arsenal come up as a suitor for the James Maddison, which was in the same article. So we're probably at a bit of a stretch here. Again, this reminds me a little bit of the Martial deal, is that Bernardo Silva is after coming off the back of a very successful club team, plays for Portugal. He's got a good high profile. Maybe not in the same vein as like a Bruno Fernandes or someone like that, but a damn good player in his own right. Where would he see himself as a suitor? Where do you go when you come from a Manchester City title-winning side, Champions League chasing side? The Arsenal, I thought, was an interesting one. I don't know whether Arsenal just have buckets of money and they go, well, Jesus, yeah, we could take him. or listen, we'll go to Leicester and take a 50 million punt on James Maddison. So it's interesting more in the fact that he wants to go. If he wants to go, he has to go somewhere. But who would take a punt on him, or who would see him as a 60 million boy? For me, you want a real quality first 11, guy that's going somewhere. I don't know if he fits that profile for me.
Yeah, I wonder if the 60 million is a price they put on him because they were talking about him being part of the Kane deal, and they're evaluating him enough to try and boost that deal. The Maddison one, I thought that had legs on it with Arsenal. I believe that there was inquiries there. I believe that Maddison wanted to go, but that seems to have stalled, so there doesn't seem to be much happening there. Now there's still a long way to go in this transfer window, so you just don't know what way it's going to go. But would that be a step up or a step down? You look at Leicester at the moment, it's definitely a step down from Leicester to go there, and I couldn't see how wages are going to be too much different, so that would be a strange one for me. Dave, Bernardo Silva, last year it was Mahrez who got in ahead of him. He didn't play that much in the second half of the season. He didn't do much in the Euros, taken off more times than anything. So he's not really wanted by Pep. As Neil said, he's looking to get out of there. Could a more realistic one be maybe not Arsenal, but that Spurs deal?
Yeah, maybe that Spurs deal, but
do Spurs need another winger?
No, they need to replace Kane, and they're not going to either. But that's what they need to try and do. So I don't think they should take him. The only player you could take to remotely fill in a small gap until you unearth somebody would be Jesus. Is just get another striker at the very least, and hope he gets half of what Kane gets, and then spend the money wisely. For Bernardo, if the right attitude, I think he'd be an upgrade on the right wing at the moment. Like, I know Saka's there, but he'd be an upgrade on Pepe, and he could be the right person to bring Saka on a little bit more. He seems to be a good team player. He works his ass off when he plays. As much as skillful as he is, he's very industrious on the pitch. So he might be a good addition for him and help with the progression of Saka, and certainly be an upgrade on Pepe, because God love him, that hasn't worked out there at Arsenal at all. But yeah, I wouldn't take him for Spurs. I would be cheeky and ask for Jesus, and then be sensible with it and see if you can try and pull something out of the bag over the next 12 months or so, and really trying to get somebody with a big name to replace Kane, which is not very easy to do.